I swear to God, every time we hit record, it literally takes longer every time.
I was just gonna say that took a lot longer than what it normally is, because usually you'll just like scroll your fingers around a little bit and then it'll start. But this one I was like, is this shit starting?
It was like, I'm not even kidding to everybody. When I hit the record button, we sat here for 10 seconds before it like showed that it was recording.
Skype is probably getting, and I'm eating a whole bag of peanut chews, so don't judge me, but they don't even really put that many in there. But Skype is probably just getting super old. There's probably like 3 dudes that still work there, and they're all probably like 60 plus. And so they
Totally.
probably like don't know how to update shit. Are kind of just coasting by thinking that their shit is still good. But there's tons of other apps out there that probably are way better
Now
than this.
everybody uses Zoom now, man. But it's at the point where like
I feel like Zoom is old too.
I mean, it could be, right? But like I've had some normal like, oh, we need to talk type stuff, like whatever, work related, whatever. And some people are like, all right, I set up a Zoom call. And it's like, just call me on some regular shit. Like, why do we have to do this on? I don't understand why we have to do this on Zoom. That makes no sense to me. And then the other thing is, like, usually when I need those calls, I'm driving somewhere, and so like they
You got to
send
log into a room, right?
they send an email, and then it's like, your code is 747 numbers long, so try to type this shit in without crashing and dying.
No,
And it's like, they have a one-touch shit sometimes, but like only sometimes, and sometimes I press it, and the shit's just like, this doesn't like, it doesn't work. It's like, this shit doesn't even exist.
I think they purposely kind of make it awkward for everybody because, one, at the bottom of that email, you got to like scroll mad far to find like, it gives you a bunch of different options. It's like, if you're on PC, push this button.
Right. Yep.
If you're on your phone, push this button. But then here's your meeting ID, here's your password. So they're kind of like fucking you off the bat, because it's like, if you're on your phone, we're going to hit you with 2 shits. If you're on a computer, which you're just sitting chilling, we're going to hit with 1 shit that's simple. But the phone, they know that you're either on the go, driving, doing some shit, so they make it way harder. So it should be the exact opposite. And to your point, it's always some shit that you got to scroll mad far. And it's like in between mad, like, it's like verbiage of just bullshit that you don't need. It's like, here's your conference room, conference ID, blah, 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 blah. Here's your room. Here's your password. And you're like, why'd you put all that other shit above and below it? Because you could have just hit me with the, here's your shit, press this shit.
OD. And then the other thing is, especially for like calls like that, it's like, why do you want to see me, and why do I have to see you? There was one shit, like, we could just talk, like, you'll know it's me from my voice. There was one shit, it was for the wedding. We were like finding a DJ or whatever, and our wedding planner was like, all right, like, we're gonna have a meeting with the DJ on this day or whatever, and we were like, okay, cool. So we go for the meeting. Of course, it's a Zoom shit.
Yep.
And then so I go on it, and my default move is like, you're not seeing me. Like, you're just gonna hear me, right? Like, I'm here, you know, I'm here. I'm not. You're not gonna, like, I'm sitting in my underwear right now, chilling. Like, you don't need to see me. And then dude hit me with like, oh, your camera's not working. And it was one of, he left me. He left me no wiggle room. He left me no wiggle room either. It wasn't on some like, oh, okay, you can do it. Like, there was no hint of like, yeah, you could do it with the camera off. Like, that's fine. He was like, oh, your camera's not working. And I was like, yeah, all right, like, I'll work on that. I'll try to figure that out or whatever. And then he goes, all right, we'll wait until you fix it.
That's so bad.
I was like, bro, so dead ass, I'm super lenient with so much shit.
Yeah.
But on that alone, and then also we don't even think it wasn't like this DJ company was not for us. But that was some main shit where I was like, okay, strike one, son. Like, you fucked up. And then Crystal went to the website, and they were like, they had 0 black people for any weddings.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah. They were too trying to cater to like clientele that we don't vibe with. You know what I mean? Like, it was all OD rich old white people, and like they put a lot of emphasis on the presentation, and they had goofy lines in the meeting, like, What'd they say? They were like, "Oh, you're the exact kind of couples that we like to work with."
Oh.
They said that like 2 minutes into the conversation. I was like, "You don't." I didn't say it, but in my head, I'm like, "You don't know anything about me. You don't know what music I like yet. Like, you don't even know what I look like yet because I didn't turn the camera on."
I
So
was gonna say, did you eventually get the camera on?
no, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying. Oh, it's not working, bro. Oh, all right. Well, yeah, let's just do it like this. It's fine. Let's just do it like this."
Oh yeah, no, that's mad funny. Cause I kind of feel like I'm that dude. I feel like I'm telling people to turn their video on because I kind of got to see you, um, to make it feel like, like we're actually talking. But to your point, it's like video was never really an option for any of the shit. So like before FaceTime, it was just like that you couldn't even think that you could see a person when you're talking, So the fact
Yeah,
that like someone now has gotten to a level where it's almost like defaulted that they see your face is kind of OD. So maybe I'm on the wrong side of it where I'm kind of like, yo, there's a button right there. Just turn your shit on. Now, let me see what you look like.
you know what it is? Here's why it annoys me. It's like it's a fake professionalism type move.
Mm-hmm.
Like because and people say this about working from home too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, but if we let people work from home, they're gonna like be in their underwear eating ice cream while they do their work. And it's like, yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Like you want to make work nicer for people, better for people. You want to make it so they won't like procrastinate as much or hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
If they wake up in the morning and they know, number one, I work from home. Number two, I know I just have X amount of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
They might wake up, start at 9 o'clock, bang it out by like 12:30 or 1, and then be chilling the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And that's a win-win for everybody. It's like those studies that came out that said there's a bunch of places that have done like testing on 4-day work weeks.
Yeah.
And across the board, they found everybody's happier. Everybody likes it more.
Mm-hmm.
They either get the same amount of work done, or in some cases, they're even more productive. And it's like, if you really want to make work better, we know how to make it better. Like, let people to jobs that you can do from home. Let them do it from home. Let them sit there in their underwear. Let them like watch Game of Thrones most of the day or whatever they want to do. Like, that's the way to do it. So I think the thing that annoys me the most about it is like the fake professionalism angle of it. Like, we're going to be serious people and do serious things. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wear like a suit and I'm going to look at you and you're going to look at me. And it's like, who cares, bro? You know what I look like. I know what you look like. And even if I didn't, I wouldn't fucking care. Like, it's okay. It's fine. Now, to contradict myself a little bit, I understand why people who like listen to my show or listen to you and me, like they might want to see us in the process of doing the show. But I think that for like works calls and stuff, I think it's totally different,
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, it would have been mad funny if you turned your camera on and like you did have no shirt on and you were just like beating your meat in the golf.
Just like that CNN guy got caught beating his shit. Could you?
Oh yeah.
Then they hired him back, man. That's crazy.
But yeah, I think he was just being very like businessy, like trying to see you and like, see if you're smiling and shit like that. But you kind of hit him with some G shit where you're like, nah, you're just getting my voice and I'm going to vibe with whatever your company does or not. And you could tell straight off the bat with the way he hit you with shit. Like, you're the type of couple we like, no, I don't care, video or non-video.
That's the shit. Like, I don't doubt that 95% of the people that he works with, if they're going to do a Zoom call, they want to be seen and they want to see the other person,
Yeah.
But that's exactly like, I don't care about that. Like, I want you, if you're going to be the DJ at our wedding, it's not that difficult. I need you to show up, play some banging music. Don't be weird. Like Crystal said, she went to the website, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because they had said in the conversation, like, oh, well, how would you feel about like musical transitions? Like, we have DJ, but we get creative. We do like musical transitions. So we didn't really know what that meant either, but we were like, yeah, like I'm not opposed to that or whatever. It's cool. Like, let me see. Like, let me see what you're talking about type stuff. Like, okay. And so they sent an email and it was like a whole section on their website. And they have these DJs that like, so like when a song is coming to an end, somebody will take out like an instrument and start playing the shit and like fade it into the next song.
So they mix like live music with their DJ shit, but
yes, but the shit was whack as fuck. It was the wackest thing you'd ever see in your life.
I feel like the guy who runs his company listens to our podcast, so be careful.
There's a 0% chance he listens to our podcast. He listens to like he listens to whatever the opposite of our podcast is. You know, like he watches HGTV and
It's
like
like two people who are buying houses or some shit. They have a podcast.
yeah, like he's just the total opposite of our vibe, you
Uh-huh.
know. And then so we talked to the wedding planner, and he was like, "Yeah, like I feel like I got you." And he reached out to like a more of like a club type DJ
Yeah,
than a
you got to
wedding
just find a
DJ.
regular ass dude like who throws bangers like in the local town or some shit, and they
Yes,
can freak that shit way better than any like officialized like DJ like because the music at your wedding, I'm not gonna front. That's like one of the it's music, um, open bar. Hopefully you have, and then just that's pretty much it. It's just banging music and then just drinks, and that's all people care about. You know?
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, we ended up picking a dude like that. But I vibe with this dude because he was like, just send me like what, just give me an example of the songs you like. Like
Yep.
send me exact songs that you like, and I got you.
Yeah. Did
And
you hit
it's
him
like
with some like?
bet.
Is there gonna be some juvenile like some back that thing up? Like,
It's funny because Crystal and I just went through like so I went to my Apple Music playlist, right?
mm-hmm.
And just like went through the whole shit. And we were going now, ideally, in a world that was perfect, I'd just be like, just play my whole shit. You
Yeah,
know, like here's my phone, just play my whole, but obviously we can't do that because like
it would just be like straight Southern, like New Orleans, like
well,
like
we'd be sitting there and like Kaya, My Neck, My Back would play and it'd be uncensored and everybody would be mortified. And so like I can't just do that. So what we did is we went song for song through my whole shit and we're
Mhm.
like, what can we what can we get away with?
You got like one song out of there.
And nah, we actually got plenty. I would say that like 50% of it was acceptable.
Oh, okay.
Or like you could find a song and be like, yes, they have a clean version of this song and the
Okay.
clean version is doable.
Okay.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
But like
Yep.
we
Yep.
did that, we sent it to dude and he's
Mhm.
like, you're good, like I got you.
That's what's up.
Yeah, that's all you need, man. That's
And
all you need.
he's like he's good. Like you feel good, or it's one of those where it's like you sent him the shit and it'll still be like some Bruno Mars shit or something like that.
Nah,
Like because sometimes people will
it was
tell
no
you.
bullshit.
Okay.
It was like we told him the range, right? Like
Yeah.
the range of music that we like. Like, look, anything like pre 1990, exit, not
Yep.
happening, right?
Uh-huh.
1990 and later, we like R&B, we like hip hop, and we
Mhm.
like pop.
Yep.
Like hit us with 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and even a little bit of like current day shit
Yep.
that's in all those categories: hip hop, R&B, and pop.
Yeah. So it'll be banging. What was the one shit that like had two different versions that you asked me and Crystal one
Let Me
time?
Love You
Like,
Down. Yeah.
yeah, that's a banger. Like shit like that is
That's
pre
gonna be at the
90s.
wedding. That's
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
at the wedding. It's gonna and the version we like more is gonna be at the wedding
Okay.
because
Yeah.
that shit is more dancey than the old one. The
Yes.
old one is more like a love ballad. The new one, I say new, this shit is the new one is from like 2000 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's more of a it's got more of a dancey vibe to it. That's the other thing is like there's songs that we really like, but
Mhm.
it's like that shit just doesn't work at a wet like
Yes.
it's interesting because he was like at the time when everybody's eating,
Mhm.
you could play some shit that's not really dancey shit. Like you could
Yeah.
play like the slower like Usher or whatever, right?
Yep.
And he's like, but for the dance portion, you want it to be more dancey. So you'd be surprised at like the number of songs that you like that it's like that's not really a dance
Yeah.
type song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%. I could see that because I've thought that at my wedding too. I was like, yo, just put this because it got to a point at my wedding where I think they were playing shit that was kind of ass cheeks at first, and then Molly had a moment where she came up to me and was like, "Yo, the DJ's not freaking it right now." So I kind of went up to him on some like, I was telling him what the shits to play, like off the top of my dome. I was like, "Yo, hit him with this shit next, hit him with this shit next." And there was a couple where I was like, "All right, we're good here." It's some, whatever. Like Chris Brown's usually okay. Most of his shit you could dance to, but there's some other shit that like I would be like, "Yo, play this. This is gonna bang." And I was like, damn, it's not really a dance song. Yeah, so like there's shit that you listen to that you think is a banger, but then they put it out and people like they can't find a rhythm to it,
Yup.
or it's too hood or some shit.
Yeah, it's all about the vibe, man. It's all about the
Mhm.
vibe. But low key, I think you and I would actually make good DJs for that exact reason. Because
Yeah.
the second you thought of the song and you were like, oh, this will be a banger, you stopped yourself and were like, I don't know. Not in this context. It's
And
crazy how that context changes it.
Yeah, and you could tell right off the bat. I mean, like I have no songs that it's like if you play it loud, like the whole room, like even like a grandmother who's about to die or some shit that just came to the wedding would still be like nodding her head just because your body naturally reacts to like the beat.
Yep.
So there's songs out there that just have a beat that goes crazy that like if you just play that shit, everybody and their mother will be like bobbing their head to that shit.
Yep. That's exactly right. Our shit is going to be interesting because we have like distinct packs of people, you know,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
there's the close
old
friends
crowd.
portion. There's like the political people.
Mm.
There's the family people. So it's all over the map.
And
you
you've
know?
got, I mean, her kids are young enough too. Are they dancers where they could kind of like freak it out there? Like, are
They'll
they?
probably. I would predict that the two younger ones dance and the older one doesn't dance. That's my guess.
Okay.
If I
'Cause
had to guess, I'd say that.
that's low key and essential to a wedding is having a kid that like
Oh
wants
yeah.
to get out there and kind of freak it because then it kind of opens it up to everybody else to be like, this kid's letting loose, so I'm gonna just go out there and wild out too.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the youngest one is the star of the show usually,
Okay,
and
cool.
she would love to dance. But even the middle one, the boy, he would, yeah, he's like low key. He sort of likes like dancing, but
You think he's
he
got
also
like some moves in the bank that like he could hit like with some shit that you're like, oh,
it's hard to tell because they're so young that
Yeah.
like you don't know if it's like this is only their third time dancing. You know what I mean?
yeah. But usually, I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just the TikTok era, but like kids now, even kids that I'm like that kid doesn't look like he has rhythm. Like like he couldn't do anything. The way TikTok has made it is like everybody knows the trendy dance move and everybody can do some floss and shit. Like I can't even still do the floss shit where you like move one of your hands, like you move you move like your right hand in front of you and your back hand behind you.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm
that
talking
shit is
about?
low key kind of hard. I've tried that shit too.
That shit is mad hard. But if you ask I would
Yeah,
say
kids do that shit.
any kid under 16 could
Yeah.
freak that shit. Like you could ask any kid, a kid that like you like glasses, braces, just looks nerdy as fuck. You're like, yo, you can floss, and he'd freak that shit. But then like, if you're like, yo, can you fuck? He's like, nah.
Well, first of all, kids are not like kids obviously are not fucking because that'd be terrible. But like you're talking like 16, 17, 18 type shit.
Yeah, I'm just think kids have like a different, like whatever generation it is now. Like I don't even know what they're called, but they're just like have this gene within them that
Or
is
like you
more.
said, it's just TikTok. It could just be TikTok because TikTok is their shit. It's like
But
their
you
whole
still gotta like
generation is on
you
TikTok.
still have to be coordinated to like do the dance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a certain base level of coordination that you need, but you could take somebody who's doesn't have all that much rhythm, and if they start dancing when they're like 4 years old and just keep doing it,
Yeah.
they'll become good enough where they could do that like floss shit that you were talking about. What's that from? Isn't that from like a video game or something? There's like
I don't.
is it like a Fortnite dance or some shit? Is it Fortnite or is it some other shit?
I thought it was some shit first, and then it got like adopted to Fortnite. Like Fortnite usually picks up. I know they have one. Like Fortnite has one dance where it's kind of like some Irish like leprechaun shit, where you like put your knees up. You know that one I'm talking about?
I don't know. It's funny.
Oh.
The description was funny.
But you like do some shit where your knees come up, and it's like kind of like a dance that like is like very. Anyone who plays Fortnite probably clowning us, but like everyone knows that shit. Like if I show you the video, even you be like, I've seen that shit. Like you've seen somebody do that shit.
Yeah, the TikTok dances, I feel like everybody's seen them at some point. Like even
Yeah.
if they're not on TikTok. Yeah.
No, but the Fortnite one was like that was like a staple Fortnite dance. Was like the guy like putting his knees up and doing like this weird, like Irishy looking dance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if the floss thing originated from Fortnite or if it was like from some other shit that Fortnite kind of adopted. But do you remember back in the day, like the Harlem Shake, like the OG Harlem Shake, where you would like move your shoulders?
Honestly, they all of the dances from when we were kids sort of have meshed together in my head. So I don't know which is which. I don't know what the
Damn.
snap and roll is. I don't know what the lean back is. I don't
Oh,
know what
yeah.
the Dougie is. like we had all these shits too. Like when we were
Yeah,
younger,
that's
there
true.
were all these like a song would come out, it would become gigantic, and
Hmm.
then you'd have the dance associated with it. And like if you show me a video of each dance, I'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember that. But
Yep.
like just asking me off the top of my head right now, I don't like they all mesh together. I don't know which is which, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Now that you've mentioned a couple of them, they kind of all mesh together. Which one did I mention? Oh, the Harlem Shake. I remember that one because it was like you like moved your shoulders like down and like kind of like shuffled them a little bit. But all the other shits probably moved your shoulders too. But then they came out with like when we were older, there was a different Harlem Shake where like I think they would just fucking like move their whole body and like literally like look like they're having a seizure. And then people were like, that's the Harlem Shake. And I was like, no, there's an OG Harlem Shake that like people from Harlem actually used to do, which was way more gangster than that new Harlem Shake shit.
You remember the crunk dancing?
Nah, see, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, there was this crunk dancing. I remember it because of Chris Brown.
Uh-huh.
Like he would do it, but it became like
Oh,
randomly
I do
popular one
remember it.
year,
Yeah.
and it
Hmm.
was just like it was very like herky jerky
Yes.
aggressive.
Yep.
Yeah, that I remember that shit.
But again, with all those dances, I think it was like few and far between of like which people can do it and like
Oh
people who
yeah,
did it
definitely.
well.
Oh, definitely,
Whereas
definitely.
now, popular dances,
Yeah, everybody does it.
everybody could do that shit.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. Like, I'm not a dancer.
Hmm.
I never really danced that much. I could probably count on one hand the number of
Same.
times that I danced.
Hmm.
But I remember at my sister's wedding, which had to be like 2010,
Hmm.
I had Adderall that
Yep.
day,
Hmm.
and I just that's the only shit that can get me to dance. Is some
Yeah.
like strong ass upper drug.
Yeah.
Because when you take it, all of a sudden like you start feeling the music in a different way.
And your body just like loosens up.
Your body's just like it's weirder to not dance when you're feeling like that. Like the normal state of affairs is for you to just be dancing.
Hmm.
And like
Hmm.
you don't give a fuck what people think of you. Like
Yep.
you're just like I don't give a fuck. Like I'm just going to freak it right now. I'm just going to dance.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you don't like you're not conscious about the move, self-conscious about it.
Yep.
You're just like, "Oh, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do," and it just like sort of flows.
Yeah. Dancing's a weird one because I think for myself, like I want to say it's not a confidence thing because like at the end of the day, I'm like, who the fuck, cares if I'm dancing out on a dance floor when I should be dancing on a dance floor, you know? But I don't know if it is a confidence thing because I'm not a good dancer either. But like my brother is super confident and he could freak it out on the dance floor. Like he does Spanish dancing, regular dancing. Um, so I don't know what it is. I just don't think I have like the rhythm to do it. And like some people have the rhythm and some people don't. And
It's just
it
the way
could
your
get
brain
taught,
works,
you
man.
know?
It's just the way your brain works. Like some people, it's like this with everything in life, right? Like some like public speaking.
Hmm.
That's just something I never feared. It was never an issue.
Yeah.
If I had to talk in front of people, I'm like, not only am I fine with it, I'm actually more comfortable talking to 100 people than I am talking to one person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's just that's just the way my brain works.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. But you could take somebody else who doesn't like public speaking, and they would like have a panic attack,
Yep.
not know how to get the first sentence out, and there's a whole spectrum. And some people be in the middle of that. And dancing's the same thing. Like some people are just, and a lot of it could be how you were raised, if you were dancing from when you were younger and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But like some people just they're really self-conscious about it. They don't know what moves to do. They're
Yeah.
just like awkward, and I'm definitely more in that camp. But again, the only thing that can get me to snap out of that is if I'm on some sort of
It's a
upper
matter
drug. Then I
but
can.
it's weird also because some of the like best, I guess, dance moves or people freak it that I've seen have been like the most off rhythm, and it's just about like them not giving a fuck and just shaking their body almost to like that crunk type of shit where it's kind of like this dude's just vibing out right now. And I guess in some way there is some rhythm to it because it comes together in a way that works. But it's also just some of like, like the weirdest dance moves I've seen. Like I've just seen videos of people that like it doesn't look like it should work, but it's working, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does actually make sense. I mean, for me, my thing is like, if you're dancing, right?
They're
Like
just enjoying it, I guess. They're like
yeah,
they're just living it.
That makes perfect sense, and that's what like the Adderall does
Yeah,
to me.
yeah,
But like,
yeah.
if I'm not high and I'm
Hmm.
supposed to dance, it's like you're up there, you're dancing, but it's like if you're dancing for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, how do you keep doing new shit, right? Like,
It's
there,
hard. Yeah.
there's got to be like there's got to be some default dance move that you do like most of the time, and then every now and then you break out some different shit, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
keep going back to the default shit. But it's
Yep.
like if you don't have a default shit, it's like what do you do? You know,
Yeah.
like you shouldn't be dancing. Like you don't. It's
That's
just
a good point.
not your vibe. It's not your thing.
Yeah.
And it's
That's why
fun
I mean,
too. Like if you think about dancing, it's just funny. It's like a weird thing. It's like you're let your body just start doing shit. It's
yeah.
like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, some of the funniest dances I've seen is usually like kind of like that Grateful Dead vibe and just like I don't know what type of like genre of music that is, but people are usually high or on some type of mushrooms or some shit, and it literally looks like their body is just going numb. It's kind of like when I pick up my toddler, and she turns into one of like those like car dealership like blow up things, and
Yeah.
like that
Yep.
shit is like, damn, that dude looks like he's just vibing out, but also looks like he's about to have the mean headache tomorrow because like their body is just fucking flailing.
Yeah.
But that's dancing, I guess, in a
It
way.
is. Yeah. I mean, there's all different kinds of dancing, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously the shit I like the most is R&B dancing, but that's also like a harder type of dance to do.
Yeah. I
I know
mean,
your brother probably freaks it at like Spanish dancing,
oh,
right?
he kills it. I mean, like, and he's like the base level compared to like actual like Dominicans, or like Puerto Ricans who like are dancing reggaeton, bachata, salsa, all that shit. Like their shit is next level. Like they do it how you're supposed to do it, but then they'll throw extra shit in there where they like kick their feet a little bit even more. And it's just like then they'll start clapping on top of it. Like there's so many levels to just being like a Kobe Bryant to Spanish dancing, or like just like a regular ass like, you know, like
Yeah.
a six man who could come in, get the job done and freak that shit and people be happy. But there's just such a wide range within that, like being good to being great, that I mean, I guess that's across all dancing levels, but the flailing one of like the Grateful Dead type of shit, to me, I never got down with that one because it's kind of just like I don't think there's a real talent to that shit.
Yeah, it's like barely dancing.
Yeah, it's like barely dancing because you're dead ass just flailing your body. So anyone can do it, but I don't want to do it because it's not like you have to be good at that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But like if there's any dance that we're gonna do,
It's
it's
that
gonna
shit.
be yeah, it's gonna be some low level type shit. I mean, tell
Yeah.
me what you think about this. I always felt like from when we were younger,
Mhm.
there's like there's almost like a masculine thing about not dancing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's wrong, like it's the wrong interpretation
Mhm.
because it actually is true that like your brother knows how to dance real well and
Yeah.
that actually like women love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
there's this weird masculine thing, and I think it stems from insecurity, where it's like, I
Yes.
know I'm not gonna freak this,
Yeah.
so I better just stand here and like not be dancing.
Yeah. That's a good ass point. I think that's where it all fucking comes from. Is like, I mean, yeah, that used to be like the gangster thing would just be like, you stand on a wall.
I'm gonna post up, yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna post up, girl grind on you or something like that. But a real G and like, is someone who's out there in the middle freaking that shit that like the people have a crowd around. And then when you're done and if you freak it, everyone's slapping your hand, people want to talk to you. But yeah, I think to your point, it was cool to stand against the wall and be like, nah, I don't do that shit because like we couldn't do that shit. So like
right, exactly.
that was just the reason why we were doing it. So everybody I think fell into that category, but it was also on some like high school young shit, like um
Totally,
so I don't know. I think as
totally.
people get older, they go out to clubs now and like you see more people like freaking it on the dance floor as opposed to people like standing on the wall
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Oh,
If you took dance classes as a kid,
mm,
it would do wonders later
yeah,
on in life. But
100%.
on the flip side of that, if you took dance classes as a kid and you're a boy, you'd be one of like 2 or 3 boys in a class full of girls.
Yeah.
And you would feel like, I don't know, does this make me a loser? You know what I mean? Like there's
Yep.
all these societal expectations that sort of mess with your approach to it, you know?
Totally.
And then you end up somebody like me who doesn't dance at all. And if you do dance, you have to be high as fuck on Adderall in order to do it, you know?
It's always weird because even with my girls now, like I mean, they're in ballet, they're in gymnastics, they're in other shit too. Like they do wrestling, but they're Nyx is like the only girl in her wrestling class. There's a couple other, it's getting more popular. But for like ballet and gymnastics, her ballet class back in the day, there was like one like boy who used to do it. And it felt like so foreign. But like at the end of the day, ballet is good for like balance, your coordination. Like there's probably a whole bunch of benefits for a boy to do ballet when he's younger, but like it's just not something that is common for, I mean, at least I've never really seen and still don't see when I bring my girls to class, a lot of boys doing like ballet or gymnastics. There are more, but it's still very girl heavy. But it's weird how like it's just very separated like that, like even on
Yeah.
the wrestling side of things, when I meet other parents that have young daughters, I'm like, oh, you should put her in wrestling. It's dope. Like, they get contact and it's good for them to like kind of touch and feel and like get hit and push down. And it almost seems like so dismissive from some parents of like, oh, never, or she's in wrestling, like, so on the flip side of that, I wonder if I had a boy, if it would be a conversation with me and Molly to be like, let's put him in ballet because there's benefits from that as well,
Yeah, I mean, I'm on team just get them in all sorts of different shit and just see what they like and give them shit to do, you
Yep.
know? Because
Keep
that
busy.
shit is like you don't think it's a big deal, but as they get older, it's definitely a big deal because you're
Yep.
gonna want them like when they're in high school, you're gonna want them to like go to school, stay on top of their shit, and then when
Yep.
they get out of school, it's like then I have soccer, then I have gymnastics. Like you want them to have shit lined up because that breeds good habits and that breeds interests later in life.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
if you're not doing like at least 2 things when you're younger
Mhm.
and you get older and you don't have a hobby, you don't have a sport, you don't have an activity that you do, like that's probably when shit starts going sideways and like, you can start getting in trouble and breeding bad habits and whatnot.
Yep.
So like our kids do mad shit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, their schedules are crazy.
Yep.
You
That's
got
awesome.
soccer, you got golf, you got basketball, you got gymnastics, you got dance,
Damn.
you got all these different things.
Mhm.
And then like by the end of the day, they're worn out and they'll
Yep.
actually like go to sleep and
Yeah.
it's like mentally healthy for them too,
100%. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, we try to put them into a lot of shit, and yeah, to your point, I think it's better to have them doing a lot of stuff because then they figure out what they like, what they don't like. Um, I'm still fascinated how people find out, the shit that they do like. Like my stepfather Gary, I think when he was a kid, he collected like stamps or some shit like that. Like I don't even know how he got into that hobby. Like baseball cards or something I can understand, but maybe he was around stamps. But people who just are into all different hobbies, I kind of am just curious how they. I mean, I'm sitting next to a ton of fucking bobbleheads, so like I don't even know where that started. But now it's like every sporting game I go to, I gotta try and make sure it's a bobblehead night so I can get one of those shits. Like
Yeah, shoes, you're a little bit of a
shoes.
sneakerhead,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts. I think it all starts when you're young, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are the things that I like doing in my free time? Golf. Everybody
Yep.
knows that.
Yep.
And then the other thing I like is poker. I mean, we don't get to play it a lot, but
Yeah.
so why do I like golf and poker? That's the shit we did when we were younger. Like my dad would take me. I live next to a driving range, like right
Yep.
next to a golf range, and so that was my first job was there. And I'd also be able to like if I had nothing to do, I could just walk over there and hit some golf balls, and like so that breed something. And then my dad would take me to play when I was younger. And so as you get older, you get really interested in it and you start like researching it more and learning more about it and spending more time doing it and getting better at it. And for
But were
poker,
there any like quirky shits you were into? Like you remember when this was hot for like kind of a hot second, but do you remember? And they still do it, I think. But do you remember when the quarters they changed like all them to like every 50 like whatever the states, and they had all different designs on it, and then they came out with like this big map, and you could fill in every quarter that you found.
Yeah, so coin collecting stuff, I think my grandfather, who actually is not he's not my actual grandfather. My actual grandfather on my mom's side was dead before I was born.
Okay.
But the guy that was basically my grandfather because my grandma remarried this
Mm-hmm.
guy, and so he was like my grandfather.
Yep.
He like got bought me some shit like that when I was younger, some like coin shit.
Uh-huh.
And so I never got too much into it, but I was exposed to it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, the big one that I was most into when I was younger was probably the collecting Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
Because
Pokemon was dope.
that was our shit for a hot minute. I mean,
Yeah.
I would beg my mom to take me. There's this place in New Rochelle called Squiggy's,
Yeah.
and they would sell like all sorts of collectible card type shits. And they would have these Pokemon cards, and they'd have them in these like plastic container things, and you know they'd be like underneath a glass case.
Yeah, they look so cool in the
Yeah,
cases.
and you would see like the rare ones. You'd be like, oh, I want that one.
Yeah.
And your mom would have to drop like $25 or $50 for one card. And
Yeah.
so collecting those when we were younger, I mean, I was exposed to a lot of shit. I mean, the phases that we had when we were younger. Remember, there was a time when Tamagotchis were the shit.
Yep.
There was a time when yo-yos were hot. I remember when yo-yos, Pogs, yeah, like it's all those things. I never learned how to play Magic the Gathering or anything.
I never knew Magic, yeah.
My cousin was into it, and I remember always looking at his cards like, oh, these are so cool. And so, yeah, you just get exposed to mad stuff, and some things stick and some things don't. But it's funny how people look down on you if you stick with some of those shits. Like, if you're a grown-ass man collecting Pokemon cards, society sort of looks down on you. But, like, what fuck society? Like, that's your shit. Like, whatever. Who cares? You're doing your thing. You like it. It's no big deal, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's weird how some things are like kind of, if you're older and you're still into it, it's weird. Whereas other things aren't. Like, I mean, there's a guy, or he's like a super fan for the Mets or something like that, who collects pins, and he's got like so many pins, but he's like 90 years old. So he's probably been collecting pins since he's a little kid. And it's kind of not weird because it's kind of like, all right, pins are cool. But if he was collecting like My Pony dolls or some shit like that, like that would be weird as fuck.
Yeah, people look down on that.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was like, yo, he's been doing this since he's 7, give him a break. But it's like, nah, but why is he still doing it? He's 90.
Yeah, nah, let him live. Let him live. It's like those people who are really, really, really into Star Wars or Star Trek, and they go to the conventions and like.
I went to one year. It was kind of it was really cool, actually.
I thought you never watched Star Wars, right?
I haven't watched any of the shit. I haven't watched Star Wars, Star Trek, Star Trooper, Star nothing.
Star Dick Suckers.
Star Dick Suckers. I did watch that. It was actually very good.
But like respect to those people, because I know, like, I never got into. I mean, I've seen all the Star Wars movies.
Yep.
You know, it was cool, but I never like got super into it. I never saw Star Trek, but like I'm getting a little taste of what those people feel like, because for the have you ever watched Game of Thrones or no?
Nope, never watched that
well, I'm way late to the trend. Like, I didn't watch it when it first came out, and people. I don't like watching shit when it first comes out, because then you have to wait like
every week,
some shit once a week, and it's annoying as hell. But like, you know, me and Crystal watched all of Game of Thrones relatively recently.
It was a banger, right?
And I loved it so much that I sort of got a little taste of what those hardcore Star Trek or Star Wars people feel like, where like I'll be on YouTube and I'll watch like 17 videos in a row with different like Game of Thrones theories type thing. Yeah, because it's such like the story is so good. The guy who wrote it, George R.R. Martin, is a genius. And like there's so many layers to the story and so many things that connect with things that you don't realize, that you always learn something new and get something new the deeper you go. And so like I just got obsessed with it. And I like, even to this day, we finished the show maybe 2 months ago or whatever. And I'm still like, I'll still watch YouTube videos on it. And then we watched the
new shit on it.
Yeah, it's called House of the Dragon, I think.
Yeah.
And so we watched that, and then I got really pissed because I didn't realize, I thought that it was it. Like, this is the only season and that was it. But no, it's not. There's more seasons that are going to come out. So I fucked up now. And so now I got to wait till like summer 2024 for the second season to come out. And I'm going to have to watch it and I'm really annoyed by that. but like same shit. It's still, good. I don't know if I'd say if it's as good as the first one, at least not yet, but like it's good. And like, I watch videos on it. I think about it a lot. And so I know what those people feel, and it's good. Like, it's good. You're interested in it. I used to feel that way about The Walking Dead for the first, like, however many seasons.
Yep.
5 seasons. And then that shit fell off so hard.
Super hard. They just started going after the money. I heard the Game of Thrones shit was like super dope, and then the ending was ass cheeks because supposedly, like, that dude you're talking about maybe wasn't the writer for the last like episode or something.
That's
Like
exactly right.
HBO took over, and then it was ass, and then now he's like coming back maybe or some shit.
Yeah, so it's a little. That's mostly correct. What you just said is mostly correct.
Mhm.
It wasn't just the last episode. It was the last like certain number of seasons that it wasn't the original writer who wrote it. But I will be fair to these dudes who took over. They were huge fans of the author, George R.R. Martin.
Yeah,
and
but
they
still
did
not.
try really hard to like sort of stick a lot to the original writing.
Nah,
And
fuck that.
look,
I don't want to hear a fan is writing the episode.
so the end of it is true. Like Crystal and I had like the exact episode and the exact thing pinpointed where we were like, that shit was sort of stupid. You know what I mean? Like
Is that
everything was
when the
perfect.
Starbucks cup was like on the set.
Nah, but like, we remember thinking like, okay, it's like this season, this episode, this exact minute is the shit where it was like, nah, come on, man, you can like no, like.
And then from that point, it like went sour, or it was just like.
So that moment was actually, in my opinion, the low point of the whole show.
Okay.
And like, it is true. The last episode, the last like 2 seasons, I want to say, the last 2 seasons are sort of mid, right?
Okay.
But I do think people overstated a little bit when they're like, oh, it was terrible. It was like the ending was the dumbest shit ever. Because people said that about The Sopranos too. And if you go back and watch the full Sopranos series, like the ending was actually like good. Yeah, it was like thoughtful. It was good. People were just in the moment. They wanted closure and it wasn't given to them. So they like sort of flipped out.
Yeah.
But like, I would say the seasons that were written by the dude who wrote the books are just like the best shit ever. And then the last like 2 seasons are sort of mediocre.
But why did that dude not? Well, how did he not finish the shit?
I don't know the HBO politics of it. I don't know what went into. I don't know why that happened, but it happened. But I would say it's still like, even with the last 2 seasons being mediocre, the show was still absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, but I'd be salty as fuck. I'd be like, that's like someone coming to the Kyle Kulinski show like your last season of it and like finishing out your shit. And even though if they were a banger, you'd be like, that's not Kyle Kulinski.
Yeah, I mean, look, in their defense, it would kind of be like impossible to actually do the show exactly like the books, because I think there's like 5 different books in the series or something, and each one is super long. And like to tie up all the loose ends or whatever, you just can't do it with how he wrote it. Yeah. So like they had to sort of take some liberties with it, but it was still just a great show. And now like everybody who loves Game of Thrones wants them to just keep. It's like the opposite of The Walking Dead, where people after a while were like, just stop this shit already.
Yeah.
It's people want more. Like everybody would just give us more, give us other prequels, give us sequels, give us like the one, without like getting too much into how the shit works. The prequel takes place like 200 or 300 years or something before Game of Thrones. But like the shit I want them to make would be a prequel to Game of Thrones that happened like right before Game of Thrones, because like some of the most interesting parts of the story to me happen right before Game of Thrones. And like, I don't think anybody's talking about, though. They're talking about that they're going to do a new prequel, and the new prequel, after they do this House of the Dragon shit, the new prequel is going to be like going way further back to like the beginning of what's called like the Targaryen dynasty.
Yeah, see, all that shit sounds so fucking confusing to me, like prequels and sequels. Like, I just need to get hit with one banger, one time frame, maybe a couple seasons, and then I'm good money. Like,
yeah, no, I hear you, man. I hear you, but I would definitely recommend. Did Molly ever watch Game of Thrones?
Nah, I don't think so, but I feel like she would like it because it's kind of the same Harry Potter like realm, right?
Okay, so here's the. I would say no. I would say no to that. I don't think it's like Harry Potter. So here, I'll break it down for you real quick. Like, here's what I love about it, right? It feels like some shit that could kind of be real. Like, think of like a medieval story where there's like a kingdom and
I just think about medieval times when you say that shit.
yeah, think about like medieval times. That's like exactly
Yeah,
right.
there's
Like,
a king and a queen, and the horses fucking are competing like for them.
exactly. Like think about that shit. Think about medieval times, but then you add like a really dope story with it, and then
Uh-huh.
you add just like a little touch of like a little, just the right amount of magical shit where it's not ridiculous. Where it's like, okay, I could kind of see that. Like, I'll give you an example. Dragons exist in Game of Thrones,
Yeah, I
right?
could see that. Yeah, like
But it's
some
like, yeah, but
dinosaurs
it's
type
like,
shit.
yeah, I could kind of see this. Like, this isn't crazy. The other thing is like, there's some religions in Game of Thrones, like the
Uh-huh.
Lord of Light, like the fire god or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and like this shit is kind of real. Like the Lord of Light actually exists, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
you don't know that much about it. You just know like there's some little magic shit where you're like, oh shit, like that shit is kind of real. So like they sprinkle in just a little bit of magic with a dope ass story that's sort of like a medieval type story,
Yeah.
and it's just they just nailed it. Like they just nailed it. And I'm the type, like if you were to tell me up front Game of Thrones is a fantasy show,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have been like, I'm not watching. I'm not a fan of fantasy, so I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible to me. But the fact that Crystal was like, nah, you have to, like, you'll like it. I was like, okay, whatever. So I was sort of dragged into it. But
Yeah.
then when I was like, oh, I actually really like it. And it caught me, it brought me in kind of quickly. I want to say like by episode like 2 or something, I was
That's what
already
I
in.
heard. I heard like 2 or 3 or some shit, but I still, as much as you're selling it and how everybody sells that shit would be super ass cheeks to me. Like, I'm mad closed minded to Game of Thrones. I just think it would be whack as fuck. But maybe I'll give it a try. But I don't know.
I got to admit, I'm one of those people who, when a show first comes out and everybody's sucking it off super hard,
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you guys, I'm not watching that. Right? Like Breaking Bad is a great example of it.
Yeah.
But then when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is really good. And it happens every time, right? Like every single time a show comes out, everybody loves it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But then like I get to it usually like 5 years later.
And then you're
Like,
like, yo, this shit is dope. And everybody's like, yo, we told you this shit
yeah,
already.
exactly. People are like, you're 5 years late to this shit. And I'm just like, okay, my bad. But
You know,
like the audience, here's my take on it. The audience reaction, I always say this about like what's that show? Rotten Tomatoes. Like
yeah. Oh, the
the
website?
audience is usually more right than the critics. Like the
Hmm.
audience usually, what if the audience gives it a rating of like 87, it's going to be pretty dope.
Yep.
My one exception is superhero movies, which I have a massive bias against.
Yeah, I don't watch any of those fucking movies. I mean, I think I saw Batman, but um, you know what I don't understand
What?
is where people have all the time to fucking like read all the Harry Potter books, watch all the movies, and then still like be engulfed in it just fully. Like same with Game of Thrones. There's people that have read all those long ass books, watched all the seasons, and then are doing the shit you're doing where you're watching extra shit on YouTube. Like I I don't know where people find time in the day to do that shit. Like
I mean, look,
where can someone sit down and read a fucking book?
let me tell you, I'll tell you, these people, like these types of people, here's what they do. They go to work, they pay the
Hmm.
bills, and they only do that shit. Like that's what an obsession is, right?
Yeah.
Like an obsession is I want to give all of my time to this thing.
But are there
I
any regular ass people that are like, yeah, I read the books. I watched the show too, and I'm all caught up in all the fucking Reddit talk.
No, you have to. I think you'd have to be obsessed to be in that category. There's
Right?
plenty of
Yeah.
people who watch it and are just like, "Yeah, that was good." Like plenty of people like that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
to do all the things that you're saying right now, no, they got to be obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But those people, like, look, man, this is the point I'm trying to make. It's like those people, when they wake up in the morning, they're like excited.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? And so like that's a healthy thing, even though it sounds kind of silly. Like it's legitimately healthy. People need to have obsessions.
I know. But
If
not
you
even
don't,
obsession. Like I'm fascinated that even Molly sometimes like she was in book clubs and like she reads books or will listen to them, but it's like usually late at night, like 8, 9 o'clock after we put the kids to bed, where she'll listen to like a book on audio tape or something like that. But like even then, like I kind of joke with people sometimes when like there's a book somewhere and they're like, "Oh, that's a great book," and I'm like, "Ah, I don't read a book." And they're like, "Oh, they like laugh." But like I'm dead ass, I don't read books, and that's probably like like maybe it's a dumb thing to say, but like I just can't sit down. I can't put one in my ears. I kind of stopped even listening to podcasts, and maybe like that's bad for me, and I'm gonna just get dumber as my time goes on here on this planet Earth. But I just maybe I don't know. I just can't like read some shit. I'm not a
That's
reader.
okay. First of all, I think a majority of the country is exactly like that. I
Yeah, I
don't think
guess.
you're like like everybody else is reading and you're the only one who's like, nah, I'm not gonna do this.
Like even
I
Joe
think,
Rogan when he like talks to people and he's like, "Oh, I read that book." Like, where? How?
well,
You,
look,
you do shit.
in today's day and age, like if somebody says I read a book, there's like a 60 to 70% chance they listen to the audio version of the
Right.
book and they
Yep.
listen to it on like triple speed,
Yes.
you
Okay.
know?
Yep.
And like that's honestly like some people are more like they learn through audio more than they learn through reading.
Yeah.
And I'm probably more in that camp. I'm more of like I want to hear it than I want to read it.
Yeah.
It sticks in my head more if I listen to it.
Yep.
Um and there's no shame in that, right? Like if you're watching educational YouTube videos or whatever, that's educational. You're learning shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's not like I know there's this old school way of thinking that like some people might look down on that. Like you got to actually pick up a physical book and read it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that's just not true. That's not accurate. Like you could learn more doing it by listening to an audiobook on double speed as long as you can like digest it. You
Yep.
could learn more that way. Like when I watch YouTube videos now, it's always on double speed because I can get through it in half the time and then see more shit and like in the process get more shit in my brain. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep. No, it makes sense. I don't know. I can't. I mean, I guess my brain would get trained to like listening at those faster speeds, but again, I don't know what it is. I can't find the time to.
Well, that's just being an adult, man. That's all
Yeah,
that is. Like you're just describing the struggle of being an adult. Like
I
you're an
know, but
adult, you got kids, you got shit you got to do.
I
Like
also don't want to commit to some shit that I'm like I could get maybe halfway through, and because it was recommended to me that it was dope, but I don't think it's dope. I'm like I just wasted a week listening to this shit and it's whack as fuck, you know?
yeah, see, I'm bad about that. I almost have the opposite problem of that. When I start something, I really, really want to finish it,
Oh, really?
even if I already know like I'm really not gonna like this, because
Oh,
I want to give it its due. Where like by the end of it, there's a chance that by the end of it, I'm like, oh, that was actually good. But
yeah.
like, I'll start something and I'll be like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm weird about like I committed to this, so I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's loyalty. I'll give you that because I'm afraid to start any new TV show at night because I'm like, I don't want to watch this shit and then have to end up wasting 2 hours because this shit was garbage, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm rare because Crystal and I have had this conversation too. She'll be like, if a show doesn't get me in the first episode, I'm out.
That's tough. That's a tough rule. Like,
Well, that's what you're sort of describing. You're like too.
no, I know. I know. And the shit has to really be a banger, but uh, some of the shit that I have given a chance to, it's come, kind of later on. Actually, I don't know. I'm kind of like bullshitting on that. I think a lot of the shit that I've watched has started with like a fucking like a pop, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, but this is an argument I've had with her where I'm like, listen, you have to at least give it like a 3 episode rule.
Yeah.
You got to at least give it 3 episodes. You have to do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
Because you can't like if you're watching a show, it's a work of art. And so you're not
Yeah,
going
you're
to be
not
able
gonna
to
see the whole shit.
understand all the moving pieces and how important it is until later on. Like things got to come together, things got to develop, they got to
Totally.
blossom.
Yeah.
And
No,
but she
and that's
always says
fair.
like, "Nah, if it doesn't catch me in the first episode, I can't do it." And I'm like, if anything, like I said, I have the opposite problem. I'm not saying it's a good thing that I do it, but like I'll torture myself and sit through way more of it than I should. And then oftentimes at the end of some whole shit, I'm like, damn, I really should have stopped after the first episode.
Yeah. No, that's I think that's the right approach. But I'm also in Crystal's camp too, where it's like if you're that good and you could have hit me with some shit in the first episode to be like, oh shit, then it can't be that good. Because you should know that there's people out there with that rule that are looking for that first episode banger. So you can't be that confident enough to not know that.
But I mean, like, here's the issue though, right? Like, something can come out of the gate super hot and then just cool off and suck, and something can come out of the gate super slow and then heat up and be dope. You know, so like, it's really not that much of an indication. I'll grant you that by episode 3, if you feel nothing, I'll give everybody a pass to like say I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Right. But even then, it's like you're still maybe selling the shit a little short. Like it's just better to experience the whole shit and then have a full opinion on it, because then you can talk with full confidence of like, nah, dog, you missed out. In episode 6, everything sort of came together. Because I have had that experience where I watch a movie or I watch a show, and like later on, like I don't really like it, and then later on I'm like, oh, it hooks me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but some of your ruling has to then be like the show kind of is ashy because those first 5 episodes were weak as fuck.
I mean, that's an interesting point. I think it's debatable though, because think about it. Like, a good example is like an album, right? Like music. People, and I know Chris Brown does this too because he talked about it.
Mhm.
Like he likes to come out of the gates with, I think, the faster shit, like the more dancey type shit, and then as you go deeper in the album, it gets more to the classic old school Chris Brown, like the lovey-dovey type shit.
Yeah.
And like, so in other words, there's like a flow to it. Like if you watch, they do this too with like big WWE events, like WrestleMania or whatever.
Yeah, the beginning shits are weak as fuck.
It's not, and in their mind, they're not trying to make it weak. They're just trying to like sort of ease into the shit so that there's a climax of it. So like you work up to the climax and then you like sort of cool down a little bit at the end type shit.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess for like even like a WrestleMania, like all the shits can't be a banger. There's still gonna be some whack fights.
Yeah, there's going to be some 5-minute matches. There's going to be some 30-minute matches.
Yeah.
There's going to be the high flyers who are flipping off the top rope. There's going to be the heavyweights who are body slamming each other through tables. Like, it's a journey, right? Like, so it's the same way with shows sometimes. Like, they're not, if an episode sometimes is not hitting you with some over the top shit, it's like, well, maybe it wasn't trying to hit you with some over the top shit. Maybe it's building up to something else.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
and that's
valid.
Yeah, and that's what in Game of Thrones, I think it actually did hook me very quickly. But I could see how somebody could say like, I don't know, maybe the first, it might feel slow to some people at the very beginning or whatever. But it's one of those things where when you go back and watch it too, you realize like everything was intentional and everything was like just a perfect work of art where they built everything up and gave you the right emotions at the right times, and you know, just really nailed their execution of it to perfection.
Yeah, another one that people are talking about is that White Lotus. Have you guys watched that?
I watched it and I would highly recommend it. It's good.
For real?
Now that one, I will say this to you though. I think
There's also
you would,
a lot of hype around shows too, like those
I think
fucking
you would like
award
Game
shows.
of Thrones more. Like
For
I'm
real?
much more confident in saying you would enjoy Game of Thrones more than White Lotus.
What's the premise on White Lotus? It's just a rich family, or is that Succession? that
So
passes?
I think that's Succession, which I haven't
Yeah.
watched yet, but everybody loves that show.
Yeah,
But
that one they like too.
White Lotus, I watched all of it. And so basically the idea is there's this hotel, White Lotus, and it's like you follow all the guests at the hotel. They each have their own individual stories. And like the gist of it is these are people with a lot of fucking problems, right? Like rich, mostly white people with a lot of problems. And you just follow them in their stories. And you see like how
So
miserable.
they're on vacation? Like it's just a
Yeah, they're on vacation. And I mean, I don't know how to describe it outside of that. Like that's the gist of it.
Okay.
But like crazy ass shit happens, and it's just good storytelling. Like it's just really good storytelling where you're actually
I feel like
interested.
I would give
in
that one a chance. That kind of like sounds like intriguing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a good chance you'd like it for sure. I'm just saying I'm a little more confident that you'd like Game of Thrones.
Damn.
Like I could see you coming back with White Lotus and being like, yeah, it was whatever.
Yeah.
But I can't see you coming back with Game of Thrones and saying, nah.
I'm on Ted Lasso right now, but it's week to week, so it's kind of whack because I forget,
you know. That.
So I might have 2 episodes right now because I haven't seen it in a little bit, but it's kind of like just drop the whole shit. Like, you know, like if we're going to watch it regardless.
Totally.
If, you know, I don't know if they make more money that it's like we got to wait each week, but like just drop the whole shit. Like what's like,
yeah.
What's the fucking point, you know?
Is that a comedy, Ted Lasso?
Yeah, it's a comedy, but then it's also like kind of like, you know, a feel good, you know, there's some shit that you're like, oh, that's sad. But for the most part, it's a comedy, like just a feel good show.
Did you ever watch that show Mad Men? That was one that people love too.
Nah, I never watched that shit. It was like,
Yeah, I never watched that one either.
there's too many. But Mad Men, no, I never watched that shit. I still like. I can't keep up with. I occasionally want to watch. I don't even know if John Oliver's still on the air. Or, Bill Maher.
Yeah, he is.
Occasionally, he's got some people that I want to see. I can't. I can't do this shit. Then there's all people on Instagram. I saw this one kid who does like impressions of Donald Trump, and he does Howard Stern too. It's like Matt something. He was on like CNBC with one of the corny hosts, and they were like sucking him off. I was just on his page for a while yesterday, and I was like, "This is such a cornball," because he was trying to do like stand-up comedy also.
I like how you, instead of watching shit you like hate watch people.
Yeah, because I was like, I mean, like he does a good impression, but also fuck him because then he had like his stand-up shit on there and it was kind of weak.
Oh, that's the worst.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of like just envious of him because he's out there doing his shit.
Nah, I mean, I don't think you're a hater. I don't think you're a hater.
I'm not a hater, but like his comedy shit wasn't funny.
Yeah, but that's a lot of people. Like, look, I love Joey Diaz. I think he's hilarious. I listen to his podcast oftentimes.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think his stand-up is that good.
Yeah.
Like there's people just have different forums where they thrive. For Joey Diaz, it's like he's this fat dude from New Jersey who seems like he's Italian, but he's Cuban and was a criminal and he's hilarious, but he's good like off the cuff and he's good doing storytelling. Like that's his shit. If you put him to try to make jokes in a stand-up comedy setting, my reaction is always like, hey dog, like relax a little bit. Like he's too amped up for when he's doing stand-up. It's too like punchy and in your face. It almost feels like this is an unfair comparison because Dane Cook was way worse, but it's almost like a fat mafioso Dane Cook type vibe, and it's like, dude, you're the funniest person in the world in a podcast, but put him on stage and I'm just not that into it,
Yeah. Yeah.
The people have different strengths, man. It's not like people can't be good at everything,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I just saw his shit and I was like, kind of fuck this kid. And then he had a video with Alec Baldwin, and I had to look up if like he even got arrested for the shit that he did, and like Davina was kind of like, I think it got thrown out because of some technicality or something like that, and it got me even more mad because I thought he was like actually going to go to jail for a second, and then if he just got all of his charges dropped, then it's kind of fucking whack as fuck.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Did he go to jail? Do you know what happened with the situation?
You're talking about the TikTok dude?
No, Alec.
Oh, Alec Baldwin. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he switched gears hot and heavy in that.
I don't remember. I think he was charged. I think we covered
he
that
was
on
like
Crystal
it was
Kyle
actually like
Friends.
pretty serious that he was like gonna like go to jail, but I don't know whatever the like ruling came about with the shit.
Well, there is no ruling yet, so they just haven't done the case yet. I mean, it takes a while for these things to happen,
Oh,
but
so he hasn't even gone to court for it yet?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think so. I think we just heard that there are going to be charges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Crystal and I actually debated that one a little bit. I was like, so I actually don't like Alec Baldwin. I don't think he's funny, and he's like a total asshole in real life.
Yeah, his wife's a fucking like. You ever see his wife?
Yeah, Hilaria.
Yeah, she like said she's Spanish, but like is just like a white lady.
Yeah, I remember all this. But in terms of like whether or not he should face charges, I was actually kind of torn on it because
Really?
Yeah, because he didn't fucking know, right? That the gun was apparently loaded and
Yeah, I guess.
and like people made the argument that apparently in the protocols like he's still supposed to check too.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's supposed to go through two other people before him.
Yeah.
And the other people it goes through, like their entire job is to check to make sure the shit is okay.
Yeah.
Like his main job is acting, right? Like their entire job is like, you're the prop person, like make sure this shit is good and give it to him, And then the thing that made me turn on him though a little bit is that in an interview afterwards, he was like, I actually didn't even pull the trigger, just went off. And it's like, nah, bitch, you definitely pulled the trigger.
Yeah, what?
Like you don't need to lie.
Yeah.
You could tell the truth, and the truth is still kind of exonerating because you're like, look, I'm an actor. They gave me the prop gun. Like I did the shit, and I can't
could
believe it was
side
fucking
on that
loaded.
one more. Yeah.
Yeah, but instead he lied, which made me be like, nah, if you're lying about that, like, what else are you lying about?
Yeah,
Like, did you want to
exactly.
kill this bitch? Like, like, why'd you do this? But like, my first and foremost, I was like, you have to charge the person, the prop person,
Yeah,
because
100%.
like that's their
Yeah.
whole ass job. So I think that person should get heavier charges than Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
You know, but Alec Baldwin, like, I could see them doing the charges, but I'm still like a little split on it because it seems like,
I mean, it just seems like you could go down that route with that. I'm thinking like a dude who's brolic as fuck, and it's like, nah, you got to charge the gym and their equipment for getting him brolic as fuck, like for like beating someone up. Like he's still the one who did the shit.
yeah,
I
but
don't know.
like, think about it. We have all these different laws when it comes to manslaughter versus murder, and
Yeah, and it was like premeditated, all that shit. Yeah,
what's going on in your mind matters, right? Like
yeah,
that's what
that's
we've
true.
decided as a society, and I think that makes sense. Like if
Yeah,
you actively were like, I'm gonna kill this person, and then you took a day and planned the whole shit out,
yeah,
and then you did it, it's like you are guilty of premeditated murder. I don't know if it's like the first degree or whatever. I don't know
yeah,
how the
yeah, yeah.
degrees work, but like that's a totally different thing than if you're driving down the road and somebody
Jumps in
pops
front of
out of
your
the
car.
bushes
Yeah,
and runs full speed in front of your car and you end up hitting them and they end up dying. And you like, not only was it an accident, but actually they maybe low key were sort of more to blame because they ran in front of your shit when you
yeah,
were like these things
that's
are different, right? And
yeah,
so with him, it's like, what degree of culpability is there? I mean, again, if you want to say, hey, the protocol says he should have checked, so he should have checked and he missed that, so like he's definitely to blame, I could see that argument and I could get on board with charges.
yeah,
But again, if you tell me it had to go through two people before it got to him, and one of them, their whole fucking job is to like make sure the shit is good, and it wasn't, it's like, well, yeah, I could blame him a little bit, but also, if
fuck
I
that
was in his
person.
shoes, if I was in his shoes, would I have gone through the protocol? I don't
No,
fucking know.
no, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if I would have gone through the protocol because if I'm thinking if I'm on a movie set and you hand me a gun, this gun 100% is fake. Like it is
yeah,
not real, right? Or it's a real gun, but it's got nothing in it,
yep,
you know, and they put the sound in after the fact or whatever. Like that's what you're thinking if you're in his shoes. So
yeah.
part of me feels bad, but then other part of me is like, nah, I could kind of see, like he did still, fundamentally, he did still end up killing somebody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you make a good point. I kind of, yeah, I see your side.
Yeah, I'm just torn on it. I'm not trying to say he's innocent or whatever. I'm just saying I'm torn on like charging him or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. True. I don't know. Fuck him either way. Fuck him and his whole family.
Yeah, he's mad annoying. He does really, really annoy me.
I never thought he was funny on 30 Rock either. I don't know. I never got into that show.
Yeah, and his Trump impression was sort of ass cheeks, and everybody acted like it was the best Trump impression in the world, and there's like 20 people who do a better Trump impression than him.
Yeah, that's a good point. He kind of like became like legendary for his Trump impression, but like his shit was kind of ass. That's all
Yeah,
SNL in a nutshell. Is just like everything is ass cheeks, but it gets hyped up because they fucking have the big backing of like NBC and all the other news channels that suck them off because they think they're funny as shit.
yeah, Loki, I hate SNL. I hate them. They've never been funny, and they're just getting worse every year. It's just like,
It's getting terrible. I mean, but like again, they all just cater to Lorne Michaels and whatever he thinks is probably funny, which shit is probably not funny at all.
yeah, like none of it, it's all so predictable. You know what I mean? Like, part of comedy is supposed to be like, say some sort of unpredictable shit that might not be acceptable. You
Yeah.
know, like, find the line and go right up to the shit. And I'm not saying like be offensive for the sake of being offensive, because that's also really tacky and annoying when people
Yep.
are just like trying to get a rise out of people.
Yep.
That's like the opposite of the SNL problem. That's like the I'm the edgy anti woke comedian problem, which is
Yep.
equally as annoying.
Yep.
But like, don't you can't just do conventional wisdom shit and expect everybody to be like, oh my god, you're so innovative and funny. It's like,
Yeah.
this is not funny. Like my grandma could write these jokes.
It's also every time one of the cast members from SNL do some shit outside of SNL, it's always a flop. Like Keenan's show got canceled.
Oh, he had
Um,
a new show? I didn't even know about that.
he had a show on NBC called like Keenan or some shit like that. Like, and it was just trying to be like a show following his life. And I'm gonna say some controversial shit, but even that like Abbott Elementary on ABC, I never watched that shit, but it's probably whack as fuck. But everybody just says it's good because like they just say it's good. So if everybody on ABC is saying it's good, you don't know how many people really are watching that shit or like how funny it really even is. I've never watched it. But I just don't trust that, like, because everybody's saying that shit is funny, that it's funny. It's
Well,
probably
yeah, because people
whack
say
as fuck.
SNL is funny, and it is definitely not funny.
Exactly. And any like show on like network television at 8 or 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock is got to be whack, except for Modern Family, because that shit kind of was funny sometimes, but it was also like hyped up a lot more than it really was.
Keenan, like, high key annoys me because he
I
really
don't think he's
separates.
funny.
He's not, and he really separated himself from Kel to like become his own star.
Yeah.
And like, Keenan and Kel was the greatest show that's ever been on TV in human history.
Yeah.
Like, I can go back now and watch episodes of it, and I find it hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just so like stupid funny, and it's just great. And then he decided I'm gonna go to SNL and like I'm gonna do my own thing. And it's like, you were never funny without him.
Yeah.
Like, he made the whole shit, and you guys worked so well together. It's like if there was no more Kyle and Corin, and we tried to do, and I tried to do like Kyle and Bob. People be like, who the fuck this guy Bob? Like, what are you doing? Get rid of Bob. He's terrible. Bring back Corin. And it's like, if I was like, nah, like, I'm not gonna do that because I gotta be my own man. And it's like, why? Your shit is whack if you're just doing it by yourself. You can't just do the Kyle and Corin podcast without
I totally agree.
Yeah, and like, it's annoying because everybody knows that's true, but nobody says it, right?
Keenan knows that shit's true too, but he's trying to be like, nah, I'm gonna do my NBC special shit and it's gonna pop. But nobody watches that shit. It's like,
and you said it already was canceled, right? How long was it on the air for?
OD canceled. Like, it was the same as every other show, and I kind of feel bad for this dude, but it's been on like the last couple times I've been on CBS, like kind of at like 8 o'clock at night, is no, it's Cedric the Entertainer, who I kind of fuck with. He's an OG, and like when they used to have the shit with like him, Steve Harvey,
yes,
Mac,
yes,
that shit was funny because they were just uncut saying shit that was hilarious. But now he's on like CBS at like 8 o'clock at night with the same girl, the same blonde girl who was from that TV show when they were two broke girls, and they were like obviously definitely not broke because they're on a TV show on CBS. And they would like work at this diner, and it was the corniest show ever, and that shit I think got canceled. But now the blonde girl was on the fucking Cedric the Entertainer show, and it was kind of like some King of Queens shit, but with Cedric the Entertainer. And I felt bad because I was like, damn, this dude, like, in one side of it, got a job on CBS, and he's doing like a network TV show. But on the flip side of it, the show had the laugh tracker, and it was just corny and just like your typical, like, just whack, like, standard ass show.
Yeah, man.
That is eventually going to get canceled. But like, they just got to keep putting out these fucking shows, and it's just like the actors and actresses just get recycled. The writers probably just bounce from show to show. And it's just like, who watches this shit?
That's that mainstream America TV shit, like you said.
It was OD mainstream. It was like they had the same house set. There was a couch in the middle of the shit.
Yeah.
The door was on the left-hand side of the shit.
It's purposely like the least controversial shit on purpose. You know what I mean? It reminds me of my uncle one time, like one Christmas, like 5 years ago or 7 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle, who's like the most vanilla dude on the planet, right?
Yep.
He was like really excitedly telling other people at the Christmas gathering about how I love this show, this new show that just came out. It's called, what was it? What's the show where like the nerdy dudes have sexual tension with hot girls, like the Big Bang Theory or something like that?
Yeah,
he was like, oh, it's so funny. Like, there's these nerds, and they're like really nerdy, and there's these hot girls, and they're really hot, and like there's like so much tension, and like, oh, it's just so funny. And that is the wackest show that has ever been made ever. And like, this is the slop that like the mainstream America type stuff where people just tune out with a zombie brain after work, and they're like giggling at it. And it's like, how do any of you like this thing? You brought up Cedric the Entertainer. And that made me think of Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey, first of all, he has 47 TV shows.
He does. I haven't seen him on too much shit recently, but like, yes.
He had, for a hot minute, he had like 47 TV shows.
Yeah, he really
and
did.
apparently in real life, he's like a massive asshole.
Yep, I heard that.
Yeah, and he's like, he wrote a bunch of books too, and the books are fucking crazy. The books are like, Steve Harvey tells women how to be a woman. Like, I'm not even kidding. It's like advice to give to women on like how to treat their man, and
Yeah.
you know, Steve Harvey with his Steve Harvey ass suits, wearing like a top hat, just like barking orders at bitches. And like that, he had a daytime TV show where it was like the
I used to
same
watch his shit. He used to do the same shit at the end of the show. It'd be like, Ask Steve.
Right.
Someone would stand up. It'd be like a woman who's like working her ass off, doing shit, and she'd be like, "Hey, Steve, my husband told me this," and he'd be like, hold on. The whole crowd would be like, "Oh, here he goes. He's about to freaking," and then he'd be like, "You didn't cook for your man last night," and they'd be like, "Oh shit." He'd be like, "Sit back down." He wouldn't even like answer the question, and people would just think he's freaking as shit. You'd be allowed to do that for like 10 or 15 questions. Like, how does he get away with this shit?
That's what I'm saying. Like his books too would be like on page 12. It'd be like, you gotta suck your man shit dry. And people just be like, oh, #1 bestseller on the New York Times.
Yeah. There was no like cancel culture doesn't apply to like Steve Harvey saying some OD shit that like definitely applied in like 1960, but doesn't apply anymore today. And like he just is allowed to say that shit. I guess he got like grandfathered in with just like the OGs to like kind of just be like, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, and he always makes that face too, that like, oh, this dumb motherfucker. Like, why you gotta say some dumbass shit on my show?
And the whole crowd would just be agreeing with him. And I like my face, if you would put me in the audience, would be the only face of like, hold up, what the fuck did he just say? But everybody in the audience like had the exact opposite face of mine, that like I would have looked like an idiot when in reality his shit made no sense at all.
Yeah, I remember in like an interview he did or one of his books or some shit, he just like went off OD on atheists. He was like, I think atheists are a bunch of fucking idiots.
Ugh.
And he just gets away with saying all sorts of shit, but he was still somehow allowed in like the super mainstream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he had his show. His show was that his whole show? Just like what else did he do on his show other than just tell people like what to do?
I don't think the show had a huge budget, but like they kind of I think had a lot in the same. Well, the studio was ass at first. I think he was in Chicago in some small shit that was whack. And then they probably got a little bit more budget because they went out to LA and his studio was a little nicer. The colors got a little bit more brighter on the set and shit. So I started watching. And then, but the budget wasn't big. So he would do like games and shit like Ellen would do. And she'd be giving away like cars, fucking trips to like Maui and shit. And he would dead ass just pull out like $300 and be like, he would hand people like $300 and that would be what they won. And I'll be like, this is daytime like NBC television.
Oh
They
my
give
God.
away like conditioners and shampoo and body, like just weird shit that like if I was even I would be tight. I'd be like, I came to the show, I want some body wash.
They definitely give away tickets for free too to that show.
Yeah, oh hell
All
yeah.
those daytime shits, they just give away tickets for free.
Hell
Have you
yeah.
ever watched the Game Show Network before?
Oh, that was my shit back in the day. Like Whammy Show, Love Connection. They used to have old school shit like Press Your Luck. Like, yeah, that was my shit. Is that station still around?
I don't know. That's actually a good question. I'm not sure. If it is, I haven't seen it in a really, really long time. I remember when we were kids and you would be like homesick from school.
Yep.
And you would like The Price is Right would always be on.
Price is Right was always on. Yep.
Like if you were missing school for any reason, you're sick, you're faking being sick, you got a doctor's, whatever the hell it is.
Yep.
For some reason, at some point during the day, you were in front of the TV and Price is Right was on.
100. Yeah, Price is Right. Jerry Springer would be on. Maury's show was always a staple. And then like there was kind of a midday lull after like Price is Right, from like that 12 o'clock to like 2:30 window. It was like really nothing new or live within that time frame. So you kind of had to kind of figure out what you were watching in that frame, because like TNT, TBS would have some whack ass like old school Batman movie on, and then like 3 o'clock I would watch like Sports Center or some shit. But yeah, Price is Right was always that staple. I think it was from like 10 to 11 or like 9 to 10 or some shit like that.
Yeah, and in the morning, I remember in the morning there would always Saved by the Bell would always be on.
Yep.
And I would watch I would like watch that right before, or like watch some of it and then have to go to school.
Did you see, because this would be on too, I think this came on actually when I came home from school, but this was when I was younger. Power Rangers, they're coming out with like a Netflix shit with like all the OG Power Rangers, like Billy.
Those motherfuckers got to be 100 years old now, though.
OD old. And I was tight because one, the Green Ranger, I think committed suicide or died by suicide. My sister will correct me. And then, so RIP to him because he was an OG. And then the Pink Ranger, Kimberly's not in the shit. And she came out with a statement saying like, me and Tommy never did this shit because it wasn't like, I don't know. They had their reason of like why they didn't record. So they're coming out with the OG Power Rangers without two of like the best people in the shit. So it's like either you got to go all in with everybody, and when you recorded it, make sure you had everybody on board, because I kind of don't want to watch the shit now knowing that like the OG Pink Ranger Kimberly's not in that shit, and the Green Ranger Jason, when he was alive, didn't record for that shit, you know?
Yeah, but like, are they gonna just like redo the old show, kind of?
Yeah,
like,
pretty much. It's gonna be like an old ass Billy who was the Blue Ranger, like doing kicks and shit, but just as old as fuck.
Bro, that shit is gonna be so buns. That's great, because even like I remember Power Rangers, and I can't even explain to people who weren't around at the time just how much Power Rangers took over the world when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, it was the biggest thing. I remember watching it, loving every episode of it. But like, low key, it does not hold up. You go back and watch, it is the worst acting in the world.
Oh, yeah.
It is the lowest budget in the world.
Yep.
Like, it's a miracle it got off the ground. I remember one time I threw a little tantrum when I went to Glenn's house. You know the Glenn I'm talking about, too.
Yeah.
I went to Glenn's house. Me and him had like a play date when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
And Glenn's mom had bought him this amazing like Power Rangers like weapons thing.
Yeah,
right?
They had some gangster ass toys, man.
Oh my! And I was like, it was everything. I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I need this in my life. He was just the best thing ever. And like, I asked my mom for it. She was like, no. And I was like, kind of started to throw a little bit of a tantrum over the shit.
I feel you already, like kind of like OD fuck your mom for not buying you that shit.
Yeah, like at least hit me with like your birthday or like Christmas or she just hit me with like no.
Damn.
And this was when like I was like still at Glenn's house. She came, was like the first thing I said. I was like, please, Mom, I really want this. And she was like, no, get in the car. And then I started like throw a tantrum. And I remember getting in trouble because she was like sort of fuck you, don't throw a tantrum, like making me look stupid in front of, Glenn's mom or whatever. And I still remember that to this day. But I like, if they were going to bring back the Power Rangers and do like an updated version of it, I'd sort of be with it. But like, why are you bringing back all the people who did it? They're so old now. They can't, like, the Power Rangers wear the most skin tight suit imaginable.
Yeah, they're gonna be flabby.
With a pot belly in that shit.
Yep.
Doing like kicks that he can't even lift 4 inches off the ground.
I think it's literally like the same exact shit as when we were a kid. Like, it's gonna be bad, like kicking of those guppies or whatever those like gray shits were. I don't know. I don't think I can watch it. It's just, but to your point,
there's no way.
I still remember this toy. I even looked it up on eBay, like, I don't know, a couple months ago. I think it was the Green Ranger's flute that he had, but it was like a knife. It was like a sword.
Yes.
Shit.
Yes.
And he would play that shit, and like his dragon or whatever would come out of the water. And I was like, I saw that they were selling it, and I was like, I have to have that shit. And it was one of the coolest fucking like. But to your point, they made so much dope shit. That show must have made so much money off of just like props and like Halloween costumes and just all the
OD.
toys and shit that they made from Power Rangers. That
Who made it? Was it Japan? Did Japan make it? Because I know Japan made Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean Japan did a lot. Like Japan started like Mario Brothers, I think.
Yeah, Nintendo is from Japan. Like
Oh right,
Japan, like in Japan, they just figured out how to hack into the brains of like
all the
young
shit.
American kids.
Power Rangers was the shit. But like,
Oh yeah, I forgot about them too. Like I'm glad you brought them up because of all the shit that I'm trying to remember from when we were young. The yo-yos, the Tamagotchis, like that had taken over the world.
Oh, OD.
That
like,
was pre-Pokemon too, right? Wasn't that was
Yeah.
before Pokemon?
Yeah. Power Rangers, it was kind of in like that Pog era, like just like OG, like not a care in the world. Like we were elementary school, I think. It
Yep,
was like,
yep.
um,
You remember Beanie Babies?
yes, yeah, Beanie Babies was hot too, man. They had like, I think like there was a Princess Diana Beanie Baby that like kind of took off as one of those toys that was like so exclusive.
It sells for like $1 trillion.
It sells for like $1 trillion. That if you look on eBay now, it's probably like 37 cents. But there was a couple of those that were like those very rare Beanie Babies that like sold for so much money. But I'm trying to think how the fuck even people sold shit back in the day without like an eBay or something like that,
I mean, you have to go to the physical store.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
a physical store or like a trade show or something, right? To like sell your Beanie Baby. Or like I feel like a lot
Or
of it
nobody
was like,
sold them back then. They just bought them. Like I didn't have a Diesel collection, but I had some of them,
yeah.
and like people had gigantic collections of Beanie Babies back then.
But you would always hear that like that they were like so exclusive, like, oh, you have the hippopotamus Beanie Baby that you can't find that one, like,
Yeah, I mean, what you do is you like make a limited number of certain ones, and then they
yeah,
become the super exclusive ones. It's actually a brilliant like strategy to
it
do
is.
that.
Yeah.
I've been watching recently on YouTube. I don't know how I stumbled across the videos, but there's these people who they sell used golf clubs on eBay.
Hmm.
They do that for a living, and they have their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And they just go like to thrift stores across the country. They'll
I
go
see
into like
people, yeah, going through the
Goodwill
golf stuff. Yep.
stores.
Yep.
Yeah. And they know exactly what to look for. Like they know what has value and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And so like they'll go into a thrift store, there'll be 300 golf clubs,
Hmm.
and they'll find like the two that are selling for like $5 each
Yep.
that they could resell for $150.
Yeah.
And it's super impressive, like the knowledge that they have to know what's gonna work, what's gonna
Yeah.
sell, what's not, and like what's rare, what's exclusive. It's really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah. I kind of have that capability when it comes to like clothing
Jordan,
or
Jordan.
like, yeah, sneakers, or if I see kind of like an old toy, I can kind of know or tell what has value or what would do well on the resale market. But that being said, like there's just one guy I always see now at my local Goodwill. Like I'll stop in there like early in the morning after I drop Nick's off at school, and he's always there. And I heard someone talking to him the other day of like, oh, you still buying stuff and selling it online? And again, I have so much shit from thrifting that I'm like, this would resell, that is just in my basement because I haven't gotten around to ever like starting a shop or putting it up there. But there's a lot of shit, but there's also stuff that like the normal person, like an old artwork piece, that to your point, some people are next level where they could be like, that old flower pot is worth $700,
Yep. Yep. You found Jordan, like, didn't you find real Jordans at Goodwill one time?
Yeah. I found Jordans like a couple times. I found like old Chicago Bulls, like championship hats with the tags on them. Like there's
Whoa.
people donate a lot of shit, man. And it's like, I kind of was always like, how can someone donate all this stuff? But like recently, Molly's grandmother passed away, so like they're clearing out her house, and it's like they just put shit in bags, donate it, and it ends up at a Goodwill, and it could be just, if I pass away and someone donated all the shit in my basement, they'd fucking have a gold mine on their hands.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit is crazy. I saw that Nike is selling now like Jordans as golf shoes.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And they'll have like the Jordan 1s.
Uh-huh.
Like they took like the most famous, like biggest ones.
Yep.
And they're selling them as golf shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, low key, I should buy like some of these,
Oh, hell yeah. You would look so gangster out there with the with any type of the Jordan shits on there.
They got Jordans, they got Air Max, they got like all the whatever the big ones were. I'm not a sneakerhead, so I really don't know like what's what, but
yeah.
I went on their website and they're selling like a bunch of them that are golf shoes like that. And this is the first time I've seen it. I mean, maybe they've been doing it for like 2 years or something, and it's the first time I've seen it.
Yeah.
But like
they're getting more popular now, I would say. And they're kind of, I think it started with the Jordan trend of them making actual golf shoes like in Jordan. They started doing it with cleats for like baseball with Jordans. Then they kind of branched into golf a little bit. But now, yeah, to your point, they're starting to break into more like popular sneakers that aren't just Jordans. But I feel like you're an OG golfer that like, you're kind of still in that camp of like, I'm gonna wear some official golf shit.
Nope.
Oh, you're the opposite.
I'll tell you why. The golf shit is the most uncomfortable shit you've ever worn.
Really?
Yeah, like traditional ass golf shoes.
Yeah.
Terrible. Like horrible. It like I've worn, or maybe it was just the brands I had or whatever, but like when I wore official golf shit, it was the worst feeling stuff. So the stuff I usually wear now, I do have some, I don't want, what year was it? I want to say like 2015, 2016, maybe 2017. They're called Nike Lunar Lawn golf shoes.
Okay.
And they were like,
I've heard the Lunar line, I think, on like for regular running shoes too.
Yeah, they did. I don't know how they developed it. I think I might be butchering the story or whatever, or maybe they made it up, but it's like they did like NASA research on like the type of material or whatever. And it's like the softest, most buttery, like you're walking on a cloud type shit inside the shoe. And so I've never been able to replace those golf shoes because they're just so comfy.
Yeah.
But like my spikes are sort of worn off on it, so I kind of need new ones, you know? But like I usually wear those, and I got them in some fresh colors too. But I also have like a comfy pair of like the Skechers golf shoes. But the ones I have are more, they're not like the traditional look to them because I just never been comfortable in those traditional ass shoes. So
yeah, they're kind of, if I
my alley, they just need to be comfortable. As long as they're comfortable, I'll be happy to wear them, you know?
Yeah, no, now that you say that, I kind of am envisioning like the old golf shoe, and it's taking me back to like your photo in like the New Rochelle High School year, and you're like kind of crouched down in some shits that like they're kind of like that like bowling alley type of shoe.
Yeah, that's what they kind of look like.
Yeah, they're very like, the frame of them are just so rigid. Like there's no give on any of it. It's just like one material across the whole shit, and it's like that hard outer casing, you know?
They're just not comfy, man.
Yeah.
However you think they feel exactly like that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's weird that, maybe bowling shoes now are different too, but it's kind of weird that like the bowling shoe is like that same type of stiff ass, like non-comfy, like there's like that cork board on the bottom of them that like you just like, wouldn't you want your foot to be more agile the way it slides and kind of like.
Well, it's funny because like the whole point of the bowling shoe is you want to be able to slide. Like that's the whole point of the bowling shoe.
Yeah.
But the whole point of a golf shoe is the opposite. The original golf shoes had metal spikes in it. You want to be able to like hug the ground and not slide. And so even though you have polar opposite like things they're supposed to do, the shit still sort of look the same.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, the connecting tissue is that they're all uncomfortable. Like none of them are comfortable. And so my whole thing is like, give me some good, decent spikes with it, but also just make it feel really comfy, and then I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like you kind of, it's that age old, like you just keep making the same shoe or like doing a 5-day work week because that's just how it's been.
Yeah, just tradition.
You
Yeah.
know, it
I
wasn't
mean, I'm
until
sure.
like it was like Steve Nash and Kobe Bryant that were basically just like, we're gonna make a low top basketball sneaker, you know, and
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
hooping that shit. And everybody was like, what are you crazy? You're gonna roll your ankle. And like they changed the whole fucking industry of basketball sneakers. So like maybe the golf
So
shit
was
is
it
like,
not
let's have a
true
comfy
that the
shoe.
the high tops prevent the ankle rolls? Was that not true?
I mean, I think you it depends on your position. So I think obviously like a center or like a big man wants more stability in their ankle because they're not as crafty as a guard where they need to switch gears and like, you know, go left and right more. So I think Kobe's first shoe still had ankle support, but it was in the back of the shoe around like the back of your ankle. So I don't know. I think every position's kind of different, but I think there's more constraints around the high top that you can't be as quick or, you know, agile as a low top sneaker.
So what percentage in the NBA now wears low tops?
I mean, I don't know. I'm probably guessing, but I would say it's got to be over 50%
See,
of
because I still
guys.
had that thing in my mind of like high tops prevent the ankle roll, but I have no idea if that's actually true or not, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the study on the shit, but I would say, yeah, over 50%, like a high over 50% of guys wearing low tops. But then again, a lot of the big men, but there's not too many like actual big men like Steven Adams or someone like that, like someone who's like in the post who probably wears a high top, but maybe even he wears a low top. I don't know. But it's just like people were probably making golf shoes for however, and then someone was like, yo, these shits are not comfy. And then Nike came out with some shit like the Lunar that you were like, these are way better and my foot can move better as I hit my shot or whatever, you know?
I literally didn't understand when I first put those Nike golf shoes on. I was like, I literally don't understand why every golf shoe does not feel like this.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to me that anybody uses any other golf shoe. After I
Yeah.
wore that one, I'm like, I just don't get it. But I
Yeah.
think like in today's day and age, there's no doubt that there are plenty of golf shoes, I bet, that have a comfy interior, but it looks like the old school one.
Yeah.
Like somebody has to, like I'm sure FootJoy made one exactly like that, or make a bunch exactly like that.
I don't even know how that brand's still around. Aren't they just like some
They're
old ass
now
shit?
low key though, they're probably still like the number one golf shoe.
For real?
Yeah, because I think Titleist and FootJoy work together, and Titleist is like one of the top, if not the top, golf companies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I
And
knew,
so they're
yeah.
able to sort of coast off their relationship with Titleist. So they
Got it.
have big name recognition. They were very, very early on in the golf game.
Huh.
And so like I think FootJoy is probably still number one. And I do bet a lot of them are comfy now, but again, the look of the old school ones, certainly all the old school ones that I ever had were
Yeah.
fucking terribly uncomfortable.
Yeah, FootJoy just reminds me of like AARP. Like I kind of just associate that shit with like they're fucking sponsoring like, you know, like old age homes and shit like that. Like I I I can't picture any FootJoy shits that I'm like, damn, those are kind of a banger.
Yeah, but it's funny because I had that same thing in my mind about New Balance. I
Oh
always
no,
think of,
New Balance is fire now.
but see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I still think of my dad when I think of New Balance. I
Oh
think of like
really?
the dad shoe,
Yeah.
which I just didn't like the look of them in the 90s when my dad was wearing them. And so I
Yeah.
always had that in my head. But at some point, like you said, they just became like, oh, no, that's the shit now. Like, everybody
Yeah.
wears that now.
Yeah, New Balance is like that, but one that I would never kind of get on is like K Swiss. I don't even know if they're still around, but like
Yeah, I don't know if they're still around, man.
their shit is kind of like, nah, fuck out of here. Like even if you made some dope shit, it's like, nah, you're K Swiss.
Yeah, remember Payless shoes?
Yeah, Payless was like that was the shit. I mean, not the shit, but like they were everywhere. They were in
But
every mall.
has there ever been a comfy shoe that came out of K Swiss shoe that came out of whatever the fuck I just said before K Swiss that came
About
out of Payless
Payless.
shoes?
Comfy, they used to sell Airwalks. And Airwalks, I think, I think my brother wore those. I think Airwalks were a thing that were popular, and it kind of had that cult following of like that underground just Airwalks. Maybe like a rock band might have wore them or some shit, and they kind of took off for a hot second. And then I think they sold out and sold, I think, their licensing or some shit to Payless and became ass cheeks because they were being sold at Payless. But do you remember Airwalks?
Vaguely. I
Oh,
vaguely
damn.
remember them.
Yeah, Airwalks were kind of in that like Jenko category of like brand category that took over for a hot second. You remember Jenkos, right? Like those big ass bands.
Of course, I remember those. Yeah.
It was the same era, I think, where like Jenkos and Airwalks just took over in their industry, and Airwalks were like the shit. And like Doc Martin was in that, and they kind of like took off for a hot second. And maybe I think Doc Martin's coming back a little bit now, but Airwalks were a type of sneaker that like I think it was mad comfy to walk in, but then they got sold to Payless, and I saw them there one day, and I was like, oh damn, those shits look whack as fuck now because they're being sold at Payless.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, my recollection of Payless was like every shoe I ever got there was super uncomfortable.
Yeah, but
I
it
don't
would
know
be
why.
some shit that like you bought a pair of dress shoes from there because you were going to like a bar mitzvah or some shit and you needed a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Those shits would tear up your feet.
17 blisters by the end of the night.
OD.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was the same for girls too. Like they would buy some heels or like a fancy pair of dress looking shoes there, but they would OD fuck your feet up. But low key, they had shit that like looked okay.
Oh yeah, no, everything always looked fine coming out of there. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
I would never buy the shits, but sometimes I like am just walking around Walmart and I'll go to like the sneaker shit, and they'll make some like Nike Air Max looking shits that are definitely not Nike Air Max, but I'm like, they kind of did an okay job with this shit and are selling it for like $17. That if I needed to just wear something, like if I was a chef and I needed some black sneakers and I needed some shits that look like Air Max, like Walmart or whoever is making the knockoff shits at Walmart are kind of doing a good job.
So it's funny you say that because I want to say like 2 months ago, went to Walmart and just we're walking around and I was like, let me get a pair of sneakers because
I respect you for that.
But because I always, I'm always wearing my slippers and shit, and
Yeah,
it's
true.
nice. And I was balling, so I was like, I need like a good pair of basketball sneakers. So let me
So
like
you went to Walmart.
Well, I was in Walmart, and
I
the
know, I
thought
know, I
hit
know.
me like, oh, I need basketball sneakers. So let me just look at the basketball sneakers.
Yep.
And I tried on literally like every one they had, and they were all ass cheeks.
Well, yeah, no, but did the look of them look okay?
Yeah, the look was fine. The look
That's
was
what I'm
like,
saying.
yeah, this could be good. And then the second I got my foot in, I was like, oh hell
no. Yeah,
no.
Yeah, I'm not saying the quality is probably ass cheeks as fuck, and whoever's making them are definitely dying right after they
Slaves?
make that shit. Like it's
Yeah,
probably like
absolutely.
they made a batch of 500 and then they get their head chopped off or some
Right.
shit.
Yeah, totally.
But the look of those shits are okay. Like
Yeah, that's
if you
true.
did a blind taste test of those sneakers versus like some other shits without the logo, I'd be like, they could pass a test for being okay. It might have like an extra, like they might put a check on that shit and it might be like OD long, like, or like, the Adidas shit used to be like, they used to have like 7 stripes on it, but it'd be the same configuration of the shoe.
Yeah, the total knockoffs.
But just
That's
the
actually the
OD
worst.
total knockoff.
The worst are the total. I'd rather get like a low name brand that's still doing its own shit than a total knockoff because the total knockoffs are always trash, son.
Yeah.
Like, so in that same trip to Walmart, I got basketball shorts.
Yep.
And you know what I got?
N1 shits. Yeah.
N1 shits. Because like N1 is like they barely exist anymore. They're
Yep.
totally bankrupt. Like it's probably on its 47th owner. But they had N1 basketball shorts. And I was like, these are fine. Like, I'm sure that by the third time you put them in the wash, they're like unraveling and falling apart.
Yeah.
But like, I need some basketball shorts and these are fine.
No, yeah. They like those stores are stepping again. Like Target, I'm going to hit you with a brand that like when we were kids, I feel like all of our soccer uniforms was the shit. Do you remember Umbro?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
I think Target has like crazy Umbro shit. And it's like, Umbro used to have shorts that were like soccer shorts that were like,
yep,
they were kind of like a glossy color, and it
yep,
was
yep,
like,
yep.
they freak their shit. They used to be the shit, and now like Target has them back. And I kind of was like, at first I was like, damn, it's kind of whack there in Target. But then I was like, no, their shit is kind of like okay.
Yeah, no, I get made fun of all the time because I still wear our era shorts, like basketball shorts.
Yeah, like yep.
Like most people be like, those are a little long, you
Oh
know?
yeah. You've always like, but you've stayed true to that. Where you're like, that's your shit. You rock with that style. You've never changed and went to like the short because shits are crazy short now.
Yeah, so here's my theory. Tell me if you fuck with this. So I've never ever worn short shorts ever.
Mhm.
Never in my life,
Mhm.
right? And I mean, what you could say, if anything, like they're somewhat popular these days or within the past 5 years, right?
Oh, crazy popular. Like the shorter you have now is cooler.
Right. Yeah. So I never fuck with that.
Mhm.
Now, the variation I have in my shorts is either the longest ones I have are sort of like just at the bottom of the knee, right?
Yep.
That the longest ones I have. The
Yeah.
shortest ones I have are like maybe an inch or two above the knee.
Yeah.
Like that's the range where I'm like, okay, this is good. Am I
Yeah.
bugging on that shit? Like
No.
so
But it's back to the dancing shit. Like those are the shit that you like, and you're just confident in those shits that when you show up to hoop, it's like, these are my shorts, take it or leave it. Like I've been rocking these shits since I've been rocking these shits.
but here's the question though. Am I now equal to this? Like, here's a good example.
Mm.
There's a dude who was this like pro golfer in the 1970s and 1980s, and he became like one of the best golf teachers in the world. But and he always records himself and his swing and shit. And there's a video of him from like the year 2000, still wearing the 1970s OD shorts, where it's basically like this motherfucker's in a thong hitting golf shots. And like people will be looking at him in 2000 like, what are you doing? Like what you're wearing those? This is 1975 shorts in the year's 2000. Like what do you? But he just stuck with his shit. And on the one hand, it's respectable because like this is what you wear. Like you always have worn this. But on the other hand, it's like you could sort of, even if you just update your shit like 43%, you got to update it a little bit. Like at least give yourself an extra 4 inches on your shorts where it's not embarrassingly short. Now, by the same token, when I wear the ones that go just below my knee, there's a little bit of that like, all right, bro, you could cut 3 inches off that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of could see that too, because it's kind of just like a, like a makeover in a sense, where it's like, just give the shit that's in now a try. And you might
just mediate. Like I don't have to wear short shorts, but I could wear them a little bit shorter than I do wear them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so you sold me on the jogger pants.
Yes. Yeah.
I never wore those shits ever. And then one day I don't know where we were, LA or some shit on a trip. And you were like, yeah, and I didn't have pants, but I needed pants or something. It was cold, some shit. And you were like, yeah, I got an extra pair. You want to wear my sweatpants? And I was like, yeah, sure. And you gave them to me and they were joggers. I was like, yo, these shits are like mad comfortable. And I also kind of like how I look in them.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, these have been the shits. This was back, years ago, but you were like, these have been in style for like 2 years now or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, bet. And so then I bought a bunch of joggers because I was like, oh, they were comfortable and I like the way they looked.
Yep. But
like,
you're still on the sweatpants that are open on the bottom, right?
Not really. See, I've now sort of made the transition. I mean, I still have ones that are open at the bottom, but I have way fewer of them than I have of the jogger shits now.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think now the curveball, I think the open bottom shits are coming back in style.
They might be, but I'm still a fan of the other shits. And I'm going to be like you on the M1 shorts, where I'm going to be like,
nah, I'm good. I'm wearing these shits.
I'm wearing these shits because it's just... Bro, I remember back in the day when I would have my baggy sweatpants and I might have had some of the open shits. Like the bottom of the shits get under your shoe and get all muddy and wet.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like,
it's the worst thing ever.
They start ripping. Like I vaguely remember having sweatpants that would like have a big ass rip in the shit. Like the shits I have now, sometimes it's a little annoying when I take them off because like you gotta like get it over your foot. but it's just so nicely tucked on my ankle that like I don't have to worry about them getting dirty on the bottom or like, like hanging over my shoe. And it's just more convenient. It's just a better experience for my legs.
So what do you wear? What are your shorts length like right now? What kind of length do you have on your shorts?
I'll probably go like, I don't know how many inches. Probably like, it's like mid to low thigh.
Mid to low thigh. Okay, so
Yeah,
your shit is still a little higher than my shit.
yeah. Mine have gone up.
But also,
'Cause
like, low key, your legs are so much better than my shits. Like,
I've
I got
always had
these,
like big legs.
yeah, I got these little, like, baby twig legs. And I feel
Yeah, but
like
I
if
don't
you,
think it matters. Like,
nah, wearing the shorts, of course it does.
but not like short. I think I actually have a pair of shorts that are like kind of short, but they have like compression shorts underneath them. So
Right,
you're
yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like killing two birds with one stone because it's like you're getting that extra padding on your thigh and going short, but also still long because you got the shit underneath it, which goes out like past it. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I like those a lot, and those are kind of popular too, but um those sometimes go even shorter for people. But there's some dudes like the European dudes who wear
Oh,
that shit
forget it.
like kind of just hugging their dick. Like,
Forget it. They
eh,
also wear Speedos when they go swimming. It's like, that's psycho shit, man.
but I'd rather someone wear a Speedo than the boxer brief shits that like are even shorter than a boxer brief. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. They're just
it's
asking for
like,
their dick to pop out that shit.
yes, it's like the same length as a Speedo, but some underwear shit. And it's
Yeah,
like,
that's OD.
it's OD because it's like that shit just looks uncomfortable and just be a little longer. Like your dick might just pop out the side of that shit, and you should just be wearing a Speedo.
Bro, bathing suits are a whole thing, man, because so I just wear normal ass bathing suits, which are
Yeah.
like, okay, so the length of the bathing suit, it's always above your knee. It's never like at your knee or below your
Yes.
knee. Like
Yes.
bathing suits are just shorter, right?
Yep.
But like there hasn't been a single time where I've gone swimming where I don't get out of the pool and my dick is just OD being hugged and shown to everybody in sight.
Someone's got to create a bathing suit that like when you're getting on that little like silver shit to get out of the pool, like your shit's gonna be showing in some way. Because yes, it's
OD.
gonna be hugging it. It's
It's
gonna be
just
loose.
crazy.
Yeah, like there's got to be a better bathing suit than the shits that are out there now because you always got to adjust your shit when you get out of the pool.
I think I told you this story before, but so I like, I'm basically living in three different places: DC, New York, Virginia.
Yeah.
And so like oftentimes for a hot minute I'd be like, ah, fuck, like I don't have any underwear. My underwear's in fucking New York right now and I'm in Virginia or whatever, vice versa. Like that
Yep.
shit would happen kind of often.
Uh-huh.
And like I fixed it now, like there's underwear everywhere, but
Yeah.
I would throw on sweatpants all the time, and I would just be commando in it.
Oh,
And I
damn.
and I never thought anything of it at all.
Mhm.
And dog, I did this shit for years
Mhm.
where I wouldn't think anything else. Just wear some sweatpants, commando, no big deal, whatever. It is what it is.
Mhm.
And then one day, Crystal realized, like, bro, every time I would wear sweatpants and I would go commando, my shit would be just showing to everybody. And she brought it up to me and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "Just look." She took me to the mirror. I was like, "Just look. Just look at this." And I looked and I was like, "Oh my God. I've been walking around for 2 years just showing everybody my dick. OD."
I could kind of relate with that shit. And I give you props on that because I've gotten to a point now with my sweatpants that I gotta have boxers, shorts under my sweatpants, and my sweatpants on. Whereas if I don't wear shorts under my sweatpants, I feel like I feel lost. So
Yeah, you always did that. You've been doing that for a hot minute.
yeah, but yeah, so I don't know what it is, but to that same extent that you're talking about, I would wear like jeans or like some pants where my dick would OD be hugging just because it was kind of like they weren't skinny jeans, but they were tight where my legs would kind of, like fit in them very like tight in them, but not skinny jeans, because there was skinny jeans for people that were like popular.
Yeah,
Like
I know exactly what you're saying. They're tight, but
OD
they're not
tight.
skinny jeans. Yeah.
Yes. And Molly would say, like, you could see your, like, the outline of your dick just chilling, like, and not like I'm hung like that or whatever, but like they would just be so tight in that like waist area, and I would be like, nah, it's not that bad. But like then same thing, she was like, Crystal, she'd be like, no, look, and I would look in the mirror and be like, damn, you're kind of right. But these jeans, they fit like mad good, like, and if I adjusted or got a bigger waist size, the jeans wouldn't fit as good.
I know, it's true. It's true. This shit was so bad with me in the sweatpants. You could literally see that I was circumcised.
Oh,
Like you could see my dick head just chilling. Like you got everything. You got shaft, head, balls, just chilling. And it's not like these are tight sweatpants. These are just normal sweatpants. They would just hug my shit. And I walked around for years having no clue that anytime I'm in public, you could just see my dick just chilling. You would be able to take one look at me and be like, I know exactly how many inches Kyle Kulinski's dick is. It's just chilling for everybody to see. There are grandmas that live near me who are like, yup, I know what his dick looks like. I mean, it is just, oh man. And I couldn't believe it. I was just shocked that how did I not realize? Because I'm not self-conscious like that.
No, but you kind of were ahead of the curve, because now the new shit for women is to wear shirts with no bras underneath it, like all
showing their nipples on some shit.
That's so you might have been the person that started. Maybe there's a trend that's coming next wave of just sweatpants with no shits that your dick's just hanging out.
I mean, look, I would like the girls who do that are probably trying to show off their nipples.
Oh, 100%.
You know? Like, I wasn't trying to show off my dick. I just was showing off my dick, you know? I
kind of respect it.
You would think that over the course of multiple years, at some point, I would look at myself in the mirror and look and see that my dick is chilling. I just never looked or cared. I just think, like, I'm wearing sweatpants. Like, what's the problem? There's no problem.
I respect that. Oh. Yeah. Oh, my producers tell me I got to leave.
All right, yeah, it is kind of late. We almost went for 2 hours. All right, man. I love you, dog. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
All right. Love you. I'll talk to you later.
Appreciate all y'all. Peace.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.